Good afternoon, and welcome to the Wednesday afternoon conference call with Trusts Unlimited. This is Jim George speaking. I'm the non-attorney spokesman and facilitator for Trusts Unlimited, and I'd like to thank all of you for taking the time to listen to this call, particularly those of you calling in for the first time. The things we discuss here are of interest. I hope you will go ahead and click the subscribe button and share our calls with other like-minded individuals. Today is August 30th. We're saying goodbye to summer, moving into the fall, and this could be a very profitable fall for us, hopefully, the way things are moving in Iraq. I'm not quite sure how long this call is going to be today. I'm going to get into the material. The problem is we've really received a lot of contacts lately, and people get a little irritated when you don't return their calls that day, and so I got to do the right thing and try to get back to these people as soon as I can. But let's go ahead and get into today's call. First, by way of disclaimer, Trusts Unlimited is not the purveyor of the dinar and these other currencies. We're not advocating either the sale or purchase of these currencies, but as rather substantial currency holders ourselves. We're sharing with you the information we believe to be relevant, and of course, the most important issue for all of us is the window for the potential reinstitution of the dinar in country. Things are moving quickly. If you go back and look over the history of the revaluations of currencies globally, they generally occur in January, April, or September. And, of course, we're entering September, largely because countries like companies tend to work on either a calendar year or a fiscal year. So those are the months that seem to be the most relevant for reinstitutions of currencies. Let me touch on some issues that need to be resolved, or at least discussed, with regard to the reinstitution of the dinar. Because, of course, there are those, just as people are criticized for being foolish enough to give a date and a rate and have been proven wrong, there are going to be individuals that right up until the moment the currencies reinstitute and revalue are going to say it's never going to happen, it's a scam, this is all nonsense. Of course, people like that, I wonder why they waste their time and even listen to these calls. If it's if there was something I thought was a scam, I wouldn't waste 5 seconds listening to it. So you got to wonder, what these people are up to. But let's talk about the legitimate issues people have with regard to the postponement, let's say, of the reinstitution of the dinar and these other currencies. The first argument is the money supply. They say there's simply too much dinar out there. There's no possible way all of those dinar can revalue. Well, of course, my response to that is it was never intended for all of those dinar to revalue. First, we have the collection of the zeros, the process whereby the banks, the central bank, the Iraqi government are literally taking out of circulation, the private sector, the 3-0 provisional notes. Then we have the deletion of the zeros, that is, of the remaining provisional 3-0 notes that are in the possession of individuals and not the bank. The 3 zeros, in essence, do not exist. So that means a 10,000 dinar note would be a 10 dinar note. A 25,000 dinar note would be a 25 dinar note. So that is a substantial, in fact, it's a huge reduction in the money supply. Then there are those of us outside of Iraq that do hold the 3-0 provisional currency. Well, we're exchanging that for our own national currency. So if I have, for example, 10 million dinar, I will go to the bank, and let's say it comes back at $1. I will exchange my 10 million dinar for 10 million USD. The United States Treasury will then basically submit that currency to Iraq in return for some benefit that's already been determined, and that currency will be retired. So I don't buy the money supply argument. The second argument is economic growth. They need to diversify and enjoy serious economic growth before their currency can reinstitute. I think they're half right. They have to make gains in other sectors of the economy. They have to get the economy moving. But there are a lot of things that cannot get done until and unless they have a functioning global currency. For example, the government of Iraq right now is in negotiations with the United States, China, Malaysia, India, Japan, Italy, France, Iran, Turkey, and others, just to name a few, for all manner of international contracts. Now, it is true that the Iraqi government holds between 115 and 120 billion USD, which might be the largest tranche that they've ever held. But that USD is absolutely not even close to what they need for their 3-year budget and to fund all of these international contracts. So the only viable solution is the reinstitution and revaluation of their own currency. The third area has to do with corruption, and that is the most legitimate concern regarding the postponement of the reinstitution of the Iraqi dinar. And a lot is taking place. The country is in the process of de-dollarizing. There are restrictions on the utilization of the dollar. There are fines and even closures of some of the exchange companies that are not following the rules. Sudani to date has arrested over 100 individuals. Iraq and Iran seem to be working together now, and Iran has agreed to extradite corrupt officials, Iraqi officials that are in Iran, and even a number of large oil execs have been arrested. So they're moving in the right direction. Then, of course, there is the process to end the parallel or black market, the multiple rate system they have there. And, of course, they're, with the assistance of some GMOs, global GMOs, they're recovering substantial amounts of the Iraqi dinar because they don't want the 3-0 provisional currency that's outside of country to be in the hands of a lot of these nefarious players. So they're doing just about everything they can to move forward. So, again, the money supply issue, in my view, is dealt with. The economic growth issue is dealt with, or in the process of being dealt with, and the corruption issue is in the process of being dealt with. Now, we know yesterday, finally, the instructions for the new 3-year budget law were released. And in that process, we see that the national education program still continues, isn't in place. The newspaper campaign, further educating the citizens, is over. The budget instructions are complicated. There's a couple of things. I wanted to make some phone calls, clarify some things. For example, in the 3-year budget, they say there will be an adjusted exchange rate that will be retroactive to January. Well, we're going back now 8 months, so there could be some complicated mathematics there. The 1132, at least for the time being, is going to be the official rate. The 1320 parallel rate is going to be gone. At 1132, I could see maybe one more drop to 1,000, and then the deletion of the zeros. We're at 1-to-1 in country with the dinar. So that would, of course, make the IQD the absolute coin of the realm. And as a matter of fact, now in Iraq, the purchase of a home, a car, or acquiring a personal loan can only be done with the IQD at the current official rate of 1132. So progress is being made. Then there's the issue of the critical meetings that have been taking place with Iraq. Sudani has established a commission to resolve all of the issues with regard to the HCL, basically dotting I's, crossing T's. Sudani has entered into a preliminary agreement with Turkey for gas and oil. Yes, Iraq is a major producer of oil, but they simply do not have the ability to refine oil, so they still have to import refined oil or gasoline, and, of course, water as well. the water grid is not in place, and so they're still reliant on Turkey for their water supply. And Sudani has entered into a preliminary agreement with Turkey. Then we have the United States ambassador, representatives from the World Bank assisting Iraq. As a matter of fact, the high-ranking World Bank delegation is in Iraq to assist with banking reforms, collection of taxes, all of which are the final phase before they go to a float. Also, they're helping Iraq with compliance for international standards, and now we're getting into the Bank of International Settlements, and of course that involves international trade, and that involves what? A new national currency in order for Iraq to participate substantially in international trade. So we're right now in the process of the collection of the zeros, which precedes the final deletion of the zeros. And we also have the establishment of the electronic platform for citizen banking accounts. Now, this is important because the individuals are going to have to deposit, to the extent that they still have the provisional 3-0 currency, into those accounts in order to exchange it for the new national currency, which is the only thing they're going to be able to utilize for the exchange of goods and services. Those bank accounts is going to be where they will receive payment of salaries, their retirement payments, and the distributions from the HCL. Lastly, the CBI and the World Bank are actually in negotiation with regard to a massive tourism complex in Baghdad. Now, we have to remember, Iraq is an ancient nation going all the way back to the Tigris-Euphrates River Delta and Hammurabi, the creation of the first sophisticated criminal and civil system. So there's a lot of history in Iraq, and that's revenue. That's diversifying their economy, and that's kind of important as well. Lastly, the CBI did release a statement regarding, quote, unquote, 2 urgent and pending decisions that were going to be made shortly. Now, it's a little bit cryptic. They didn't tell us what these decisions were, but they told us they were urgent and that they were pending and very shortly would be resolved. So the only thing I can personally think of that I would classify as urgent would be the announcement of a new exchange rate and the release of the new category small notes, which would accompany a new rate and finally result in the provisional 3-0 currency being retired in the private sector, utilized only for bank-to-bank transactions, and eventually phased out. Lastly, I did mention this before. If you look historically at the revaluations of currencies globally, January, April, and September seem to be the months that it happens, and in my opinion, that's because nations tend to run on either a calendar or fiscal year. So things are moving in the right direction. I can't give you a date. I can't give you a rate, but I can just leave you with this question. Why would Iraq be doing any of the things that I've just discussed, knowing that none of it can be accomplished at a program rate? They don't have sufficient USD to run a 3-year budget and even come close to fulfilling the international contracts that they've negotiated with nearly a dozen different countries. They've had their education program. They've had all of the information in the newspaper. They've now got the budget instructions released. They're instructing the citizens to hold on to their currency. Their currency is going to have value. They're going to deposit the 3-0 provisional currency in the electronic platform banking system to exchange for the new national currency, and everything will operate through those accounts. And in order for the citizens to participate in their receipt of the hydrocarbon law distributions that can only be received through their accounts. So none of this makes any sense at all if Iraq remains in a program rate. The only plausible explanation for what they're doing, the only plausible explanation is the introduction of a new national currency and a new exchange rate. Now, what's the rate going to be? Reinstituted in country, it would have to be worth at least, if not at a slight premium over the U.S. dollar, to ensure that whatever U.S. dollars are floating around out there are going to be exchanged for the currency at a higher value. When the dinar came out, went into the program rate, the dinar was at $3.22, and the country, relative to where it is today, was in shambles. That being the case, the most conservative way I can look at it is I see no way the dinar does not come back at $3.22. But based on Basel IV compliance, the dinar should be well over $4. Now, I'll take $3 today. I think most of us will. A lot of us have been in this 15, 20 years. Someone comes in and says, hey, I'll give you $3 for your dinar. Personally, myself, I would take it and I wouldn't look back. I don't really care if I could have gotten, $3.85 or $4.25. I don't care. When you get to be my age, the precious commodity's time, not money. So that's the way I look at it. But Trusts Unlimited got involved with the dinar over a decade ago. It just so happened that I, along with some other individuals in the firm, had dinar. So we got together and said, a lot of people that have dinar, they don't understand the leverage here, the daunting task of managing all of this wealth, and all of the other issues, the privacy issues, the civil litigation, all of the issues that wealthy people have to deal with on a routine basis. It's a misnomer to say, well, gee, wealthy people, they don't work for a living. They can do whatever they want. When you have a substantial amount of wealth and you want to preserve it for yourself and your family, I can assure you that's a full-time job. And it's going to be a job that is going to be difficult initially for a lot of people. But, of course, it's something that we're all more than willing to undertake because it changes everything for ourselves, for our children, for our grandchildren. So Trusts Unlimited decided that we were going to put together a family asset protection trust package. In our view, a package of irrevocable trusts is the best asset protection available domestically. I've reviewed with you the other options: LLCs, sub-S corporations, family limited partnerships, revocable trusts, which are statutory. They all provide some level of asset protection, but collectively they don't touch the benefits, the leverage with a family asset protection trust package. I'm going to review with you briefly what these benefits are. Whether you're a dinarian or not, if you're an American citizen, you need to avail yourself of this protection for yourself and your family. If you are a dinarian, you're going to want to establish this package of trusts, and you're going to want to do it before the revaluation, and time could be short. So these are the benefits available to you. First, by establishing this package, you're going to preserve your privacy and your anonymity. That's because the assets within this trust are sealed, and no one will know your net worth or your actual holdings. Second, by establishing this trust package, once these currencies revalue, you're going to avoid personal IRS scrutiny. If you're holding these currencies in direct title when they revalue, the IRS computers are going to spit out an audit. And with the potential magnitude of this revaluation relative to your prior year's earnings, you're probably looking at a full-blown 6-year audit. Now, that's going to be time-consuming, it's going to be frustrating, and it's going to be expensive. On the other hand, if you've established our family asset protection trust package and you've assigned your currencies to that trust package, the profit from the revaluation will occur within the trust and not you personally. There's less than a 15% chance of an audit this revaluation, however large, were to occur within a sophisticated trust package such as ours. But most importantly, even if the IRS determines to do an audit, they can't do a 6-year audit because the only taxable event within the trust will be the revaluation itself. The third reason you'd want to establish this trust package is if you plan on gifting currencies to family and friends in certain situations. Now, philanthropic gifting can always be done on a tax-preferred basis, either pre- or post-RV. But in order to avoid a substantial federal gift tax, you're going to need to give currencies to family and friends prior to the revaluation. Now, if you're gifting to individuals, you have no problem giving them the currency to exchange for themselves or giving them the lump sum after you've negotiated the exchange. That can be done outside of a trust with a standard gift letter. But if you are hesitant for any reason to give these individuals the post-RV lump sum, they're children, they're college students, they're very inexperienced with the management of money, they might, in your opinion, be irresponsible or have other issues. That's the case. You gift to them through the specially designed gift subtrust, which is part of our package. By doing so, you not only avoid the federal gift tax, but you will be in a position to directly manage, invest, and distribute the money to these individuals as you deem appropriate. This also holds true if you plan on assisting family members post-RV. For example, you can place cars, boats, homes, things of that nature within the trust, and it's under your control. You can allow family and friends the use of those assets, but once again, they are owned and controlled by the trust, which means they're owned and controlled by you. The fourth reason you'd want to establish this trust package is because it's been structured in such a way as to allow your estate to bypass the cost and delay of probate and the federal estate tax. So, let's say you have a substantial amount of money in your trust as the result of the revaluation of its currencies. You pass away. Ordinarily, your estate would go through probate, a process that ordinarily can take anywhere from 6 to 18 months. But probate is also a public disclosure process, meaning that the general public will be aware of the size of your estate, who your heirs are, and how much they each stand to inherit. If anyone feels they have a legitimate claim against you, your estate, or your heirs, they simply file that claim with the probate court. That could tie the estate up for years and even decades, and your heirs would have either limited access or no access at all to their respective inheritance. Then there's the federal estate tax, the tax that the federal government would assess in order for that estate to be transferred to heirs. Under current law, approximately $10 million of that estate would bypass any federal estate tax, but the balance could be taxed as much as 60%. However, if you're in possession of our trust and your net worth and your wealth are within that trust, there will be no probate, there will be no public disclosure of your estate, and your heirs will have immediate access to their respective inheritance. In addition, there will be no federal estate tax, which could save your heirs as much as 55% of their inheritance. The fifth reason you'd want to establish this trust package is for some very specific asset protection benefits. One pre-RV, one post-RV. Pre-RV, this trust package will allow you to circumvent something called the Uniform Fraudulent Transfer Act. Now, what does that mean? Under our system of civil procedure, you can only be sued for what you actually own in direct title or the value of property at the time you transfer it out of title to an entity like our trust package. So let's take the previous example from before. You purchase dinar. Let's say you purchase 5 million dinar for $5,000. Transfer the currencies to our trust. They subsequently revalue for $25 million. You begin to live a lifestyle more reflective of your newfound wealth, and someone, for whatever reason, sees you're living rather comfortably and decides that they're going to sue you. Well, this prospective plaintiff has a couple of problems. First, he or she better have a very strong case and very deep pockets because this trust is structured in such a way as to make it extremely expensive and extremely time-consuming to pursue civil litigation. But second and most important, pursuant to the Uniform Fraudulent Transfer Act, the only thing that they could ever win by way of a civil award would be $5,000. The value of the currencies at the time you transferred it out of title to the trust, and none of the post-RV value. Post-RV, there's a benefit I like to refer to as limited liability stop loss. This protects you from future bad acts after you have acquired this wealth. This protection is accomplished through a legal strategy called segregation of assets, and this is why we've established a package of trusts, and this is how it would work. Once again, let's just use the same hypothetical. You purchase 5 million dinar for $5,000. You assign the currencies to our trust. They subsequently revalued for $25 million. Now that you have $25 million in trust, you decide to make some purchases. So you purchase a larger primary residence, a vacation home, perhaps a half a dozen rental properties for tax write-off and additional cash flow, a couple of cars, a boat, and an RV. But as you purchase these items, you place each of them in their own separate subtrust to be managed by your master trust. Now, how does this protect you from future bad acts after you've acquired this wealth? I'll give you an example. One day you're driving one of your new cars. You have an accident. The accident is clearly your fault, and tragically someone is seriously injured or even killed. Well, the family of the victim is going to want to sue you. But remember, civil suits are about monetary awards, and you don't legally own anything. So the plaintiffs, they wish to pursue the litigation, would have to sue the owner of the car that you were driving. Well, who owns that car? One of your subtrusts of which you are merely the beneficiary. And what's in that subtrust? Merely that one car and the car insurance policy. In that scenario, the car insurance company will negotiate an out-of-court settlement with the victim's family pursuant to the level of insurance coverage available. You will not be involved in this rather unpleasant negotiations. The car insurance carrier will repair or replace your car. But this is important. All of your other wealth, assets, and net worth are safely protected in the other subtrusts. Why? Because under the law, those separate subtrusts are separate legal entities or persons having nothing whatsoever to do with the accident in question. Therefore, the plaintiffs would have no standing to pursue essentially a legal stranger. So your package of trusts work very much the way a commercial barge would work, where all of the valuable cargo is stored in a series of small compartments. Why? In the event that any compartment is ever breached, the only potential loss would be the cargo in that one compartment. The cargo in the other compartments is safe and secure due to the firewalls, and the barge will never sink. Now, these benefits are lost to you as a dinarian if you do not establish your family asset protection trust package prior to the revaluation of these currencies. But as an American citizen, if you have not established a family asset protection trust package for your family, you are subject to the high tax, high litigation, high surveillance state that's being created in this country right before our eyes. Now, our trust package is initially a package of 10 trusts consisting of one master trust that will hold your assigned currencies pre-RV and financial assets like bank accounts and investment accounts post-RV, one optional gift subtrust, which can be converted to a standard subtrust, and 8 additional standard subtrusts to hold physical assets like homes, cars, boats, etc. And, of course, you can always add subtrusts if needed beyond those 8. Now, this package was the simplification of a trust package that we've utilized for our more affluent clients that had an initial cost of anywhere from $6,000 to $10,000. But when we decided to work with Dinarians, we knew that that price tag was going to be just too affordable for many. So by basically simplifying the package and back-end loading the funding of the trust post-RV, we've been able to reduce the cost of the trust to $3,000. Now, there are several ways you can pay for that. Pay us up front. We'll discount the price further to $2,500, saving you an additional $500. That's not possible. We do have a deferred payment arrangement. You'd make an initial payment of $525, which sum would basically offset our out-of-pocket costs just to produce and deliver your trust package to you. The balance of the $3,000 would then be paid in $100 monthly installments. We will charge no interest. The only proviso is once the revaluation of the Iraqi dinar occurs, any unpaid balance would need to be paid within 30 days. Now, with our deferred payment approach, anyone that has currencies and understands the need for getting their affairs in order and their trust enforced pre-RV should be in a position to afford to do so. One other suggestion, we do accept credit cards. Pay us up front with a credit card. Not only will you get the $500 discount, but the minimum payment on your card would actually be substantially less than the $100 a month you'd pay under our deferred payment arrangement. But we will work with you in whatever method works best for you. Our objective is to help you get your affairs in order and your trust enforced prior to the revaluation of the dinar and these other currencies for all of the reasons that we've stated here. Now, I will be going to the Q&A in just a minute, but I did want to take a moment and review something with you, and I'm looking through my notes here. I'm having difficulty finding what I wanted to share with you. Just give me a moment. Yeah, I wanted to tell you, well, even before I do that, let me tell you a little bit about Trust Unlimited and why you should seriously consider contacting us to get our initial no-obligation package. It does contain everything you need if you wish to proceed with the establishment of your family asset protection trust package, but you're under no obligation to do so. Now, our trust package was authored by our attorney, Robert Bly. He's been a practicing attorney for over 40 years, specializing in the areas of estate planning, asset protection, and offshore planning. I myself hold degrees in political science, macroeconomics, and finance. I've worked in these areas for 40 years myself, and I, along with my clients, were personally involved with the reinstatement of the Kuwaiti dinar in the early 90s. So between the two of us, Robert Bly and I have over 80 years' experience working precisely in this area, and I frankly know of no firm that can make that claim. It's important to understand that under our system of civil procedure, it's when you hold assets in direct title that you can either lose control of them or lose them outright. This is why we've established this package of trust to assist new overnight millionaires after the revaluation of these currencies. If you've lived for any length of time, you've experienced in your own life or through friends and family things like unexpected divorce, permanent incapacitation, the onset of dementia, premature death and prolonged and complicated probate processes. Then there are, of course, investment losses, business losses, and even bankruptcies. The number 2 loss of wealth now in the aggregate, courtesy of the information age, is identity theft. But the number 1 loss of personal wealth remains confiscation through civil litigation. And so this is what you have to protect yourself from once you've acquired this wealth. And the only way that you can manage, protect, and control everything at all times and in all circumstances is through the establishment of a package of family asset protection trusts, and particularly like if you have an asset like these currencies that you anticipate a substantial increase in value. And we at Trust Unlimited will do everything we can to help you accomplish your personal and financial objectives both pre and post-RV, as we understand it. So I'm going to go ahead and open the Q&A now for any potential questions. And again, while I'm waiting for any potential questions, again, you can contact us by phone or email. As a matter of fact, let me give you our contact information. If you want to learn more about Trusts Unlimited, you can go to Trusts with an S, Unlimited, LLC.com. If you'd like to order one of our initial no-obligation packages, you can do so by email or phone. Our email address is trusts with an S, Unlimited, LLC at gmail.com. And our phone service is 307-274-4122. Contact us by phone or email. We'll be happy to assist you. There, of course, will be no consultation fee. We'll be happy to answer whatever questions you want. Once you receive our initial package, it has a lot of information about us, about trusts, about the currencies. You can review the package, contact us if you need any assistance. If you decide to proceed, everything you need is in the package. Once we have your fee and your trust application, you should have your trust within 3 working days. And as we're getting into September, time may be short. I hope for the sake of everyone that's been involved in this for a long period of time, that is in fact the case. But for those of you that may be listening to this call for the first time, get our initial package. You can learn a lot from it. You're not under any obligation whatsoever, but if you wish to proceed, it's all right there for you. So let's go ahead and go to the Q&A here. Our first question is from area code 619. That's 619. Go ahead.
Hey, Jim. Good morning. It's Eddie. How are you?
Hey. How you doing, Eddie?
I'm doing excellent, my friend. Thank you. Hey, I got a question for you, just one. When Iraq does RV, in your best opinion, knowledge, are you feeling that it'll be released here as well, or we have a waiting period to get the funds released into the country, our country? Maybe clear that up.
Okay, in my opinion, this is what I think is going to happen. I think the currency will reinstitute in country and simultaneously float on the Forex. I think it will quickly get to 322, which is where it was when it went into a program rate. I think it will quickly move higher than 322 for 2 reasons. Because the nation-state of Iraq now is in a much better financial position than it was when they went into a program rate. And because when currencies revalue, the currency works a little bit like an IPO, which is synthetic. The velocity of people buying the currency will artificially push the price up. So it will probably go up, in my opinion, even higher than the Basel IV compliant rate would dictate. So, you can be conservative and say, oh, my gosh, it's at $3. I'm going to sell everything. You could be really aggressive and say, oh, no, I'm going to hold. I'm going to wait for $5 and hope you're right. You could do something in the middle. But once the currency reinstitutes in country, I'll be shocked if we've all not been to the bank within 30 days.
Okay. All right. That's all I have for you, buddy.
Okay, Eddie. You take care.
Hey, take care of yourself.
All right, bye-bye now. Our next caller is area code 415. That's 415.
Great day to you, Jim. This is Al from the left coast. How are you?
Yes, sir. What can I do for you, Al?
Awesome. Question. If, let's just say that this happens in September. Whatever. We don't know. But if it does happen in September, I think you indicated before, you have to say, like, if you have, let's just take a number, $5 million in Iraqi Dinar, you'd have to pay the tax on the $5 million, even if you had some 3-0 notes and some digital notes. You still have to pay the tax on the $5 million, even though you don't exchange digital as you indicated that it goes up higher ladder past the 90 days or 120 days that the 3 zeros go dead, and then you exchange. So then you pay the tax on the digital or whichever you do ladder after the 120 days, which currencies would still be good. Am I correct in assuming that?
I don't think so. I think this is a very simple answer to this question. If you go to Section 988E2 of the Internal Revenue Code, the last sentence says, if the profit that you would realize from the exchange exceeds $200, you must pay the tax. What they're telling us is the taxable event is the increase in value, not the point of exchange. So if you have not exchanged your, let's say it revals on September 15th, irrespective of what the rate is on September 15th. If you have not exchanged the currency by the last day in September, whatever the value is on that day constitutes whatever the profit is and what's taxable, and the tax would be due, 1099 earnings, on the 15th of October. So once we get into 2 weeks from now, I'll be saying absolutely do not want to see a reval in September. Actually,
right.
10 days from now. Once I hit the 10th day of the third month of any given quarter, I want to wait to the next quarter. If it hits in October, let's say it hits October 15th, well, we don't have to pay any taxes till January 15th. So that gives us 3 months to hold the currency. If it's at a low rate, it allows us to confirm in writing from the IRS what the tax implications are, because there's some dispute about what the tax is going to be. But if it hits in September, we'll have no choice. We'll have to pay the ordinary income tax, file for a refund citing 98082, Section 643A and B. I've said this 100 times. It's the only answer I can give you, based on where we are right now. The only thing I know for sure is I don't want to see a revaluation the last 3 weeks of any quarter, because we're hamstrung if the rate comes out low. And suppose it's not even an income tax. We end up exchanging currency we didn't have to exchange in order to pay a tax that wasn't due. So it can be a mess if it happens late in the quarter. And given this bunch in Washington, I wouldn't be surprised if they're pushing to get it done at the end of a quarter precisely to stick it to us, because they don't want us to have it. I mean, that's obvious,
Right.
The tax rate.
So would that be also with all the other currencies? Say, like, if there's 6 in the ballot offering to pay tax on all. I'm just saying that for clarity, because I suspect there's another friend that's listening.
Well, I mean, if the currency doesn't increase in value, there's no taxable event. You're going, it's a low bar. I mean, they say if the gain that you would exceed $200. Well, I mean, so if it goes up, right. Even slightly, that's a gain. I mean, I guess you could argue that if I purchased dinar at $13.20, and it was worth $11.32 at the end of a quarter, I guess you could argue that's technically a taxable event. My argument would be it's not a functional currency, so there's no tax implication. But that's why if we wait until the beginning of the quarter, we have plenty of time to work all of that out, and we don't have to worry about the IRS backdooring us, because we didn't literally have time to ascertain what was going on.
Much appreciation for all you do. Thank you so much.
Okay, Al.
Listening in.
Take care.
A great
Bye-bye,
day to you.
Our next caller is area code 909. That's 909. Go ahead.
Good morning, Jim. How you doing?
Okay. Who is this?
Good. This is Solomon from Texas. I spoke with you maybe about a year ago, and we were talking about the guitar. You still playing your guitar and everything?
Yeah. As a matter of fact, I'm getting back into a band, and classic rock's my thing. So.
Okay. Okay, that's a good thing.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, that's a good thing then, Jim. Nice to talk to you. But anyway, I had a question. On last Wednesday, I was listening to the conference call, and you gave an example of someone having $1 million in dinars, and I think I misunderstood it. If I recalled it correctly, it seemed like you said that if you had $1 million dinars and it revaluated at
$3 and some odd cent. That would be $32 million. Did I hear that right, or did I just got it all wrong?
No, if you had 10 million dinar and it came back at 322, you'd have 32.25 million.
10 million. Okay, then I missed the 10. I was thinking of one. I said, wow. I said, how can my math be that bad? Mm-hmm. I was hoping you was right. I was hoping you was right.
If you're a musician, music is math.
You know what? Music is math, and that's why I said today I was going to get on the call and just verify it, because I was trying to figure out, once it reevaluate, what I'll be able to do for some friends and things. And I said, wow. I said 32 million. If I have a million dinars, I can do pretty good. But yeah, I guess I better go back to my old plan now. But anyway, Jim. Jim, nice talking to you, and thanks for everything you do, man. We really appreciate all your help and your time. Okay.
Well, thank you. I appreciate the kind words. Bye now.
Thank you.
Okay, our next caller is area code 805. That's 805. Go ahead.
Good morning, Jim. Thanks for the opportunity to ask you questions on all these things and all your work.
Thank you.
Say, on the subtrust, can I invest their principal and distribute to them just the earnings on a monthly basis, and eventually upon their death pass that earnings on to their spouse or children?
Yes. You're talking about the gift subtrust.
Yes.
Okay, you would gift currencies to family and friends through the gift subtrust. When the currencies revalue, you'll go to the bank and you'll negotiate the exchange of all your currencies, and all the USD will then go into your master trust bank account. You will then go back to the bank at a later date with your gift subtrust and establish bank accounts for all the recipients and transfer the appropriate funds to their accounts. Now, you can put it in checking, you can put in savings, you could set up investment accounts, you could manage the money yourself aggressively, conservatively, however you want. You can make quarterly distributions, monthly distributions, whatever you want to do. And then, of course, upon their death, the funds could be made available to their heirs, or it could revert back to you. You could make the decision about that. After the revaluation anyway, one of the things we strongly suggest is that everyone, despite the fact you have a trust, you still want to have wills, powers of attorney, medical directives, and all of that, which are regulated statutorily, state by state. And when doing that, then, of course, you could make additional accommodation, or you could add addendums to the trust explaining what you want done with the money if you should be incapacitated or pass away, or if one of the recipients is incapacitated or passes away.
Okay, super. Next question is, how are these subtrusts delivered? How would I get my subtrust delivered?
Well, I'll give you an example.
Would it be an email?
Yes, it's all email, but I'll just give you one example. Let's say the reval happened. You have your master trust. You negotiated your exchange, and you now have $10 million sitting in your master trust bank account, some of which, of course, you're going to move to investment accounts, retirement, whatever you're going to do. But you call us and say, well, we're going to make an offer on a beach house on Hilton Head Island, and we would need to put $100,000 down. What we would create for you, and depending upon the name, I'll just call it for simplicity, we would then create for you the Hilton Head Island Real Estate Trust. So when you go to the settlement, you would be the beneficiary, meaning you would live in the home. It would also name who the trustee is. But the home would be owned by the Hilton Head Island Real Estate Trust, which is one funded subtrust within your Family Asset Protection Trust package. And that would be the case with cars or other physical assets. Now, you're certainly not required to put any given asset in a subtrust within the package, but if you want to protect your privacy and protect yourself from civil litigation, you would then put that asset in a subtrust within the package.
Okay. Now, I just had you do some work on a gifting subtrust. And I was wondering, I hadn't received it yet that I know of. Do you deliver that in an email or some other way?
Hold on a second. I'm going to write down your phone number right now, because I'm going to look. As soon as we get off the phone, I'm going to check into that and get right back to you. What was the name that you requested for the gift subtrust?
I haven't got a name for the subtrust itself.
Well, we can't. Obviously, usually when someone wants a subtrust, what we need is your full name. We need the name of your master trust. We need the name that you want for the gift subtrust. We need that in email.
You have.
Yeah.
My name is Sid Hoffman.
Yeah, Sid Hoff. Yes. Okay, Sid. Yeah. And I was looking at something last night for you. As a matter of fact, I look at so many things. I will get back to you within an hour of getting off of this call and find out what's going on, okay?
Super. Thank you very much.
Yes, sir, Sid.
Thank you for answering my questions.
Sure. Bye-bye.
You too.
All right. Our next caller is area code 509. Go ahead, 509.
Jim, this is Art in Washington State. How are you today?
Okay, Art. How you doing?
Doing well. In regards to the subtrust, there's particular steps that we need to take once we determine that we're going to establish a gift subtrust, correct?
Yes, I just went through the protocol. Yeah. With your full name, the name of your master trust, the name that you wish for your gift your subtrust, whatever it is, whether it was a gift subtrust or standard subtrust, you would then receive from us an email stating that the request will go to our paralegals. There's a nominal paralegal fee to establish a new subtrust. Once we've received that, the paralegals will prepare the subtrust. It will be emailed to you with instructions how to fund it.
Okay, and that at what point do we establish the EIN number for it?
You don't need an EIN number for a subtrust. The only trust within the package that need an EIN number are the master trust and the gift subtrust. And the reason you need an EIN for the gift subtrust is because you will be the trustee of that one subtrust within the package because you're not the beneficiary. And since that subtrust has a different trustee, it will require a separate EIN number. But all of the other subtrusts will operate under the auspices of the master trust and its EIN number.
Okay, correct. Good. All right. You have any luck with the banks getting a rate for everybody who's a client?
Well, I can't really negotiate anything with the banks until the Dinar reinstitutes because they won't even discuss it. But as I've said on the call, is if it happens like bang bang, that won't give me enough time because people will be running to the bank with their hair on fire to do their exchange. So that wouldn't give me enough time to work out deals with the various banks. And all I'm trying to do is get the lowest transaction cost for the exchange and a decent street rate. So if you walk into a bank with our trust, they're not going to give you any jazz. They're going to accept your trust without a bunch of questions, and they're going to, you'll be in and out of there. So, but it could take a week to get all of that done, and I know a lot of people's engines are revving right now, ready to go to the bank.
Yeah, I can understand that. All right, we'll let you go. Thank you very kindly, sir.
Certainly. You take care. Bye-bye now.
Bye-bye.
Our next caller is area code 301. That's 301. Go ahead.
Hi, Jim. This is Larry from Maryland. Question on the trust. When you have assets in it, you talked about the civil assets. What about the government, the IRS? If you personally have concerns with the IRS, are those trust assets attachable, or I would imagine they're attachable by themselves for whatever different reasons. But
if you have IRS, are you a Dinarian?
Yes.
Okay, if you're
and I have a trust. It's obviously not filled, but I have the trust.
Well, if you're a denarian, you're not going to have IRS problems because after you negotiate your exchange, you're going to call the IRS and say, okay, you say I owe you $1, here's $2, go away.
Okay.
You're not going to have that problem. Well, first, you'll have the liquidity. So they're not going to tap in physical asset if you have the liquidity. There's two ways they'll get paid. You're going to call them and say, what do I owe you? You're not going to call them, and they're going to call you and say, hey, you owe us. You definitely do not want to forget to pay taxes on the gain from the exchange because, remember, if it's ordinary income, you're looking at 39.6 plus 5% millionaire surtax puts you at 44.6. The penalty for an unpaid tax is 100%. They just clip you for 90%. So you definitely want to pay your taxes, whether it's taxes.
Understood. I guess I was thinking like 5-10 years from now, if something happened and situation changed. Maybe business went sour, personal business went sour.
Well, there's a lot of moving parts in that hypothetical, so it's kind of hard to say what the IRS would do. I'm hoping they won't even be around then, but we'll see.
Okay. And again, obviously trying to avoid that situation, and obviously what you just said, I've understood, and I'm good with. I hear you. Pay the taxes and move on.
Absolutely. That's right.
Thank you.
That's why. Okay. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Our next caller is area code 850. That's 850.
Yes, I would like to ask a question.
Sure.
Do you have any kind of idea that when you may think that it will revalidate?
Well, they're moving so quickly, doing everything that they need to do. They've negotiated international contracts for the rebuilding of their infrastructure. They're working with the IMF. They're working with the World Bank. They're working with the UN. They're de-dollarizing. They're making all of the bank reforms that they need to make. They're in the process now of eliminating, as painful as it is, the parallel rate and avoiding the multiple currency system and going with 1132 as the official rate, and they may reval and go to 1-to-1 from there. They may drop it to 1,000. So, September is a good month. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if it didn't happen in September, and I wouldn't be surprised if it did. It could, we could wake up in 2 weeks from now and the rate's 1-to-1. So, if you're an individual that's listened to this call, you like the things we've discussed, you don't have a trust in force, now might be a real good time to get our initial package and look it over because this could happen sooner rather than later. I don't know how much more is left to be done, frankly.
All right. Thank you.
Yes, sir. Bye-bye now. Our next caller is area code 405. That's 405. Got to be Doug.
Well, hello. Thank you very much. Yes, it's Doug in Oklahoma.
Yes, sir.
So we are, U.S. government fiscal year starts October 1st. And, so we're very close to the beginning of not only a new quarter, but the new fiscal year for our entire government. Any opinion on the weight that might have as far as this involvement by our government, basically bringing new money into the Treasury? And that's question number one. And so go from there.
All right. Well, let me answer that one first. Given the bunch that's working in Washington right now, why does something that makes good sense seem like something they would do? I think the answer, maybe the answer to that is that I think that there are a lot of those individuals who have dinar. And well, they'll take care of themselves. Yeah, that's true. But this is just the way I look at this bunch in there. They're the bunch that would do it in September, knowing that a lot of people wouldn't pay the tax and they could just take it from them. I mean, I know that sounds like a conspiracy theorist, but I've just watched this bunch for years, and especially the last couple of years, I just don't trust them. I just don't. I don't think they like us. I don't think they want us to have the money. I think 10 million new millionaires in this country makes it difficult for them to raise taxes and grow government. And everything they're doing to me, doing to this country says to me they don't like this country. They don't like that we're a constitutional representative republic. They don't like borders. So I don't know why they would do anything that would be constructive, because they haven't thus far.
No, they haven't.
Yeah. So whatever they do, there's an ulterior motive. That's the way I look at it. They don't do something based on whether it's right or wrong. They do something based on whether it's advantageous for their agenda or not. So to me, if it was going to happen and they couldn't stop it, they'd want it at the end of a quarter just to take advantage of the tax thing.
Yeah, perhaps. From a selfish standpoint, at this point, I would prefer that it happened in October. I think that would be better. We could take advantage of the gyrations that are going to come in the currency market. Like you said, I think there's going to be some significant velocity on the trading of this initially, and that would give us an opportunity to just sort of monitor this very carefully.
That's another good point that I didn't think about. If it happens in October, that just solves everything. I mean, we can do things the right way in our own time frame. We don't have to worry about Uncle Sam for 90 days, and it just makes a lot more sense.
Well, not only that, I know you've mentioned this many, many times, that you are going to write a letter to try to, and I don't know if we can compel the IRS to do anything, but at least maybe ask them to give a ruling on these issues of a tax-deferred status, if the money's in an irrevocable trust, if the investment qualifies as long-term capital gain, or if it's just going to be flat-out ordinary income. All of these things are going to take time.
There is a difference, and it's this. If the IRS, if we send the letter properly to them and they stiff us, and then they pull some hanky-panky, we would have a legitimate case in court and say, look, we went to them. We wanted to pay the proper tax. We asked them for a response. They declined to respond, and now they've come back at us post facto. So we have a legitimate argument then, and it would be all of us. It wouldn't just be you or me. It would be all of our clients, because we'd send in to represent all of them.
Well, I understand that, but nothing happens overnight. So I think what would happen is that we'd be compelled to pay the ordinary income tax and then wait for the decision and then apply for a refund. It would be a lot simpler if we didn't have to go through that.
Right. Absent a decision, we have no choice. We have to pay the ordinary income, and which is going to hurt us if we have to sell currency at $3.22 to pay a tax, and 2 weeks later it's at $3.85. Then we got hurt, right. But we had no choice.
We had no choice. Right.
It's unfortunate. I say to people, if that keeps you up at night, go buy 10 million more dinar.
Right.
To offset. But if that's our only worry. Instead of having 17.5 million, we only had 16.25 million. If that's our only worry, I can live with that.
That's true. Last point, this anticipation of the acceleration of the potential for the reval based on what the BRICS are doing, looking at what they've accomplished and what they're trying to do, I don't think that's going to enter into the reval factor as much as people thought it was going to, in my opinion. I know that
I don't think so either, because the relative revaluation of each of the currencies within the BRICS is still a Basel IV compliant issue. The difference with the BRICS is that their currency would supplant the U.S. currency as the number one reserve currency, but it wouldn't affect the relative value of all the currencies.
No, and that's something they can't do right now anyway because they don't have any way of having a uniform settlement system like we do under the SWIFT and all that. So it's a long way off. Not a long way, but it's off. And if you're following,
it could be a long way off.
It could. Well, Argentina was one of the countries that was just said that they could come in, and if you look at the value of the Argentinian currency versus the U.S. currency, it's fallen 22% in the last month. 22%. So from the first. Go ahead.
Well, that's the problem because people are wanting to join for different reasons, and so they're going to have to find a way to find the unifying protocol for everybody, and that's going to take time.
It's going to take time. Yeah. I think it's going to be.
And
it's not. I don't even know if 2024 is going to accomplish what they want, and I hope we don't have to wait another year for this reval. I'm like you. I'm getting older and tired, but I don't play the guitar, and that's something I found out today that I never knew before. Even though I do like classic rock, I don't know how to do it on the guitar.
Well, I got to tell you a funny story. I was playing somewhere. I was screwing around with the guitar, and there were kids there. They were young kids, and I said, these kids don't know it, but they love classic rock. So I just started playing the intro to Stairway to Heaven, and it got quiet, and everyone turned to look, say, "Is that Stairway to Heaven?" I'm like, these kids. I mean, I got a hemorrhoid older than these kids, and they still know what Stairway to Heaven is.
Oh, good. Well, thanks again. I hope we don't have too many more Wednesday calls. Oh my gosh! But
hell no. I'm with you on that. As a matter of fact, the guy next door, I'm working at his house today, and I see our neighbor. I'm talking to him. All these trucks pull up. And he said, "What?" I said, "What are you doing?" He says, "Oh, we're doing some reconstruction here." I said, "When are you going to start?" He said, "About 10 minutes." I said, "Just give me an hour, okay? I got a call." And he said, "No problem." So I'm looking out the window right now, and I see all these guys leaning on their trucks drinking coffee. So I got to go out and tell them I'm done.
Thank you, Jim. You have a great day. Bye-bye.
You take care, Doug. Bye-bye now.
Bye.
Well, Doug was our last caller for this afternoon. Again, I'd like to thank all of you for taking the time to listen to our call. I have given you our contact information. If the things we've discussed here today are of interest, please contact us to get our initial no-obligation package. You'll learn a lot in the package. And, again, it does contain everything you need if you make the unilateral decision to proceed with the establishment of your Family Asset Protection Trust package. Our next call will be, of course, next Wednesday. Certainly, if something of dramatic nature were to happen between now and then, we'll try to get out an emergency email and schedule an emergency conference call. But failing that, we'll be back next Wednesday, noon Eastern, 9 a.m. Pacific. Thanks so much for listening, everyone, and have a great week. Bye-bye now.